Is it a struggle? Yes, we have to realize our strengths and our weaknesses. Hi, and welcome to Why Not? And I'm your host, Janice. And our mission here is to help others to reach their goals by discussing interesting topics with spectacular guests to get you to where you want to go, to move from ordinary to extraordinary. Welcome back, and thank you for coming. Our guest today is on a topic, and we're going to be going over career choices, court reporting. And we have a great, spectacular guest. Her name is LaTherese Cooke. She's a program coordinator at South Suburban College in South Holland, Illinois. And we're going to talk about court reporting. The reason I chose this is because with COVID, a lot of people are changing jobs. They're getting dissatisfied, either with they're working in retail, restaurants, or even their regular day job. And they're looking for something different, something that pays more. And I was looking at court reporting with all the news that's breaking out right now around the world, and especially in our country, about police brutality and people going into court for businesses, real estate issues with people staying in different houses and they having to go to court. I thought court reporting would be kind of an interesting career for people being right there in the action. So I invited LaTherese Cooke, program coordinator of court reporting at South Suburban College, to talk to us about this interesting career. Welcome to the show, Ms. Cooke. How are you?
I'm good, Janice. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. So court reporting. Um, Tell us a little bit about it. Like when I was thinking about court reporting, you always see the people like in these TV shows or in the corner, like typing really fast. Okay. I didn't even realize that was a really important career to have, especially in the courtroom. Can you at least tell us a little bit about the job of a court reporter?
Well, the court reporter is known as the silent keeper of the record.
Hmm.
So the hard copy of any statement or court proceeding is the official copy.
Okay.
So if a trial happens to go on appeal, the appellate court judges, they look at the transcript court reporters together. So it's the job of a court reporter to write down what everybody says in the courtroom, put that transcript together. So when they're reading the transcript, they can get an accurate picture of what transpired in the courtroom.
Okay. Now, I was reading a little bit more on this that, like, I type about 45 words a minute.
Yes.
People speak, I thought something like, I don't know, 4 or 5, 1,000 words a minute. I mean, it's something people can just, how can someone catch all that to type it?
Yes. Well, the average talking speed is about 160 to 180 words per minute.
Oh,
But the minute that you get into a disagreement, we talk faster. If
Mhm.
you're reading from something, and sometimes the judge will read from a document, then the speed does pick up. So the court reporter is trained to write upwards of 225 words per minute. But
Wow.
it's totally different than typing.
Mhm.
As you notice, I said writing. So instead of doing
Oh,
letter by letter, they're doing a word or multiple words at one time. So it's more like playing a chord on a piano than it is typing on a computer keyboard.
okay. So, like,
So
if, go
on a
ahead.
computer keyboard, you're doing one letter at a time. On steno machine, um, with that one stroke, you can have one word or you can have multiple words in that one stroke.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. 'Cause I was wondering, how do they do that typing really fast? So the setup of the machine is different.
Yes.
Okay. From a computer. Okay. Now, also, then, if people are speaking 170 words a minute, how can you even remember that? I would think, you'd have to have almost superpowers to remember what someone's saying, although you're trying to do it at the same time.
Well, as you're training to become a court reporter, so sometimes in class, we talk about 250, 260 words per minute.
Mhm.
And the student, as they're training, they trail a few words. So you get used to retaining a little bit of what has been said
Mhm.
before you actually write it.
Okay.
It's a matter of concentration, and you're able to retain several words at a time.
Mhm. Now, I was also reading that they also have to figure out or type in information about people's gestures. So it's not just their words, but I hate to bring up the whole OJ Simpson, he was sitting there doodling and everything. And so it's like, do they have to put that in too? How, like, if people are talking, how they're doing, like, well, his head's down versus he's looking at the people. Does that involve too?
No, the only thing that's involved as far as gestures is if the attorney asks a question and the witness says,
Oh,
and then the court reporter would put nodding. But what typically happens is the attorney will say, is that a yes or no? Please make a verbal or give a verbal response. And
okay.
so sometimes, especially in like depositions or statements, they'll get away with a nod here and
Mhm.
there, but typically it will be corrected either by the judge stepping in or by the attorney just asking verbal answer. Now,
Okay.
where the gestures do come in handy, or we call them environmental sounds, is if the court reporter is doing CART, which is computer access real time translation, where they're writing, say, in a classroom for a hearing impaired student,
Mhm.
and say, all of a sudden everybody turns around and looks behind them because someone came in late to class and the door slammed.
Okay.
Well, that hearing impaired student, they need to know what's going on. And
Okay.
so the court reporter can put in on the computer screen for that student, door slammed. And that's why everyone kind of turned around.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And we are going to get into that there's actually other career options for us, not just court reporting.
Yes.
Now, let me back up a bit. What's actually involved in even trying to enter a program? Do you have to have associates or there a certificate that people can do? What's involved in being a court reporter, like the career moves?
Yes. So a lot of people don't know that you don't actually need a degree to become a court reporter, but
Oh, okay.
you have to train so that you can sit and pass a certification exam. So most states have a certification exam.
Hmm.
And then those states who don't have their own certification exam, they use the certification from the National Court Reporters Association, which is the RPR, Registered Professional Reporters Exam. So
Okay.
what we do is we train students in the language behind writing at the steno machine.
Okay.
We teach them, they have to take like legal terminology, medical terminology. There's a computer class where we
Mm-hmm.
teach them how to use the software that reporters use, which is a computer aided transcription software. And they build speed to so that they can sit for the certification exam. So that's why they typically are enrolled in a school. So we offer an associate's degree.
Hmm.
Some schools offer a certificate program. But what
Okay.
I find, whether it's a certificate program or a degree,
Hmm.
sometimes you have students who will start testing before they complete either. And they
Okay.
can become a court reporter as long as they pass the certification exam.
Okay. But obviously, there's no, I mean, I won't say there's no way, but obviously, you're going to need to take some basic classes, because there's no way you're going to go from 45 to 200 some words a minute typing, or better yet, know how to use the machine. I mean, I don't know how many YouTube videos you can do, but it's probably best to be trained, because you're in the courtroom. They're depending on what you type in case they need to say, hey, let's go back to the records.
That's correct. That's correct. So early on in the training program, you, like I said, you learn the knowledge behind writing at the machine. You take your terminology classes. And then sometimes it gets to a point where you're just trying to go from, say, 200 words per minute on the machine to 225 words on the machine. So a lot of it is repetition. A lot of it is just practicing different speech patterns, different voices, so that you can increase your speed.
Okay. Now, with the past year or so, a lot of courts were on remote. Were they still using stenographers during that time?
Yes, the court reporters were using Zoom, and that's how they were taking down the different proceedings via Zoom.
Oh, okay, great.
Mhm.
Now, do they cover all types of courts? Because you said medical terminology. I'm thinking if you're in a criminal, you may not need medical terminology. So, do stenographers cover basically any type of court if that's what the judge wants?
Yes, well, sometimes we don't realize it, but in if we take a criminal case, a
Mhm.
lot of times you'll have a doctor on the stand or you'll have an expert on the stand talking
True.
about the bullet wounds, the exit, points and
Yeah.
how it damaged the body.
Right.
So for a court reporter, you never know who's going to be on the stand. It could be an engineer, you don't know. So we have our regular vocabulary that we have to study, but we have, of course, the legal because of the attorneys and the judge, but also medical because you'll be surprised at different injury cases.
Mhm.
Medical terms tend to come up, medications come up.
Right. I guess you couldn't just sit there and say, what's that word? How do I spell it? And now 5 minutes later, you missed everything. So you need to know that. That would make sense. And yeah,
That's,
medical terminology, legal terminology, you need to know that ahead of time, which,
that's correct. And before you get to court, there are depositions because the attorneys
mm,
are preparing to go to trial. So they'll take statements from different people, lay people who just happen to be at the scene. So sometimes need to be uh, well versed in slang that we have these days. So there's some research behind putting together those
mhm.
transcripts. But like I said, you never know who's going to be on the stand.
Now, once they type it out, do they have to they're not just done at that point, are they? Do they have to go and look it over? Then they have to write it out fully?
Well, the software that they use, the computer transcription software,
Hmm.
they can connect their steno machine to this software during the proceeding, or once it's done, they can download from their steno machine into this software. And the software will translate from the steno to English. Then
Mhm.
the court reporter has to go through, proofread, put in punctuation, make sure everything is correct,
Mhm.
put the forms, the title pages, and different, forms in, and then they're able to send it off. So we do have reporters who are real-time writers, meaning their writing is 99.8%, accurate, but they would
Wow.
still have
Wow.
to go through,
Mhm.
proofread, just make sure everything is correct, and add the additional title pages, indexes, pages, and things of that nature. Make sure all of the
Mhm.
speakers' names are correct, and then they send off the final copy. So there's some editing that needs to be done.
So you're not just 8 to 5 typing in the courtroom, you also do other paperwork behind it.
That's correct.
I would think you'd probably get tired if you're in the courtroom for 8 hours. I don't even think any courts last that long for you to be sitting there typing with all that going through your mind.
Yes, they may do hours, but just like the attorneys and the judge would need a break, the court reporter does need a break as well. So they're not just, 8:30 to 4:30 in the courtroom writing. No, they
Now,
need a break.
are there any particular skills that a person needs to have that this job would be appealing for them to go into um, the associate's program or a certificate program? Like, do they have to be an avid reader or good listener or type fast? Is there something skills that they need prior to that, you think?
Any skill that they have prior to, like we have students who have various different, degrees coming into our program, which is always helpful because, like I said, you never know who's going to be on the stand. So if you have a degree, that just gives you a broader vocabulary. Just say there's a case and it involves embezzlement or what have you.
Mhm.
Well, if you have a degree already in, say, accounting or something, then you are more familiar with some of the terminology that they may use.
Mhm.
So once it comes up, then it's easier for you to write it, or you don't have to go and research these terms because you're more familiar. What I would say is that if you are an avid reader, then basically you're going to have a good vocabulary because the job of a court reporter is basically words because
Mhm.
you're writing down all of these words that people are saying. So an avid reader would be great. Also, if you're good with grammar and punctuation, because
Mhm.
once you take it down, then you have to make sure that it is accurate, that it is punctuated correctly, so that when it's being read, the gist of what actually transpired, because sometimes punctuation can change the
Right.
meaning of things. Um,
Like,
I
for
would,
example, like if attorney is like, or the person on the stand is raising their voice, then an exclamation point would be important because this way you can express how they were expressing the words versus, oh, I don't know what happened, or I don't know what happened. You need to have that exclamation point to kind of express their volume.
well, that's actually one of the punctuation marks that the court reporter does not use.
Really?
Exactly, because the job of a court reporter is to get the words, but we're not going to infer
Oh, okay.
that this witness is screaming, you
Hmm.
know. So it's up to the attorney to ask questions
Hmm.
to get that point over, that okay, this witness is a hostile witness or what have you.
Hmm.
But the reporter, we're just taking the words. Remember when I said if the witness does this,
Right,
the
nodding.
court reporter is just going to put nodding, witness nodding. They're not going to put the witness nodded yes or no, because
Oh,
it's not their job to interpret or infer what this means by whatever was said.
they keep a quite neutral role to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, I was wondering, like some people always wonder, like, why hasn't court reporting went from the stenographer to just a tape recording or even video recording? Why don't they use that versus the stenographer still typing?
Oh, one of the main reasons is because, um, like I said, the hard copy,
Hmm.
that is the official copy. So you can't submit an audio for the court record. So there are some courtrooms that uses electronic recording, but
Hmm.
they hire a court specialist to still type up from that audio.
Okay.
And then how many times have you recorded something or even tried to use Alexa or Siri and they get it incorrectly?
Right.
So you need
All
that.
the time.
Yes. So you need that person to say, can you repeat that? That wasn't clear.
Hmm.
Um, can you slow down because I'm not getting this?
Hmm.
Or um, do you mean um, not as simple as affluent or effluent.
Mhm.
You need that human touch
Right.
for the record to be accurate.
Now, is stenography still a good career to go to and is a good salary?
It's an excellent career. You know, I've been teaching for 30 years and I've never had a student who became certified that was not able to get a position.
Oh,
Back in, I believe it was 2018, the NCRA did a study, and the study showed that there were not enough students in school to
okay.
cover the need that they were going to have for reporters
Mhm.
in just a few years.
Wow.
So recently, I've been getting so many job leads and job ads for court reporters. They are in dire need of court reporters.
Mm.
And I think it's a great position because, like I said, without having a 4-year degree, you can come out making $60,000 a year,
Mhm.
and you have the potential of making six figures.
Oh,
So it's an excellent career for those who are single parents. It's a flexible career
mm,
where you can, you know, put your schedule around your family.
mhm.
Um, if you don't have a family and want to work in the courtrooms, well, you can do that as well. And you can be an employee. But a lot of my students come out and they are freelance reporters. So they're almost like self
Wow.
employed.
Mhm.
So full time is usually 3 days a week.
Oh,
The
I like
other
that.
couple, yeah, the other couple days, they're working on, proofreading and putting together those
Mhm.
transcripts.
Mhm.
So it's an excellent career.
Yeah, I was reading that not all of the court reporting stenographers are in the courtroom. Some are freelance and they work at home. So there's lots more options. And then you had mentioned about even translating for students.
Yes, yes. So court reporters are working as cart writers.
Mm,
Now that's for students in the classroom, but
mm.
that could be at a corporation if they have a population of hearing impaired employees. They can take that same technology and write for churches if they have a congregation that has, hearing impaired congregants. They
Wow.
also do closed captioning for live television programs because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So there are a number of careers or jobs that court reporters can do these days.
Now let's go back to the um for the TV. I
Yes,
did read part of that and I was like, I always wonder like how are they getting these words up that quick? I mean, is someone sitting there that fast? Like here's a person's name and everything else. So that's actually court reporting. That career can lead to that portion. Like when you're doing a live broadcast, like the Olympics or sports, they actually have separate people doing that.
exactly, exactly. And the best part about it is once they're trained, say if they always are doing the 10 o'clock news, they can do that from their home.
Oh, I like that. And that's one reason why I wanted to do these shows on particular careers that people don't know about or can make a big change in your life. You know,
Exactly.
going back to school, I mean, how long is if you go for the associate's degree, that's what South Suburban and a lot of junior colleges around the country, I'm assuming, have. How
Yes.
long typically is a associate's degree to get?
So our program is set up to be completed in 2 years. But
Okay.
with court reporting, you're learning a motor skill. So sometimes students won't hit their target speed on
Mhm.
time and they may have to repeat a class.
Okay.
So I would say sometimes it takes 3 years or more for students to complete. Now,
Okay.
our students need to go home and practice at
Mhm.
least 2 to 3 hours a day after
Okay.
class.
Mm.
And if you're not putting in your practice, then sometimes you do not hit your speed goals.
Okay.
But It varies. I've had students to complete in less than 2 years. So it's really an individualized program.
Oh, okay. So, whew, and does it also include, since as associates, you might have to take like reading or English or maybe like history? Is that included too for
That's
associates?
correct. That's correct. You do
Okay.
have to take so many general education classes. If you've taken all of those already, they can transfer in, and then you just take the classes that are related to court reporting.
And because associate's degree at a junior college typically, there's financial aid options if that's needed typically, because it's a
That's
regular
correct.
program, not one of those little short certificate type things.
That's correct. So we do take the financial aid through the
Mm.
government. Now, our particular institution does not take student loans, but being a community college, we have very, very low rates. And so
Right.
we offer a payment program. So students can typically come out of school with less than, for less than $13,000.
Mhm.
So they can pay as they go.
Right. For a career that you can get 50, 60,000 and more and possibly work at home. I love that idea.
That's correct. And be self-employed and be able to write off your equipment when you start off. So,
Right.
very lucrative career.
Very lucrative career. And the career is growing because, like you said, they're showing a shortage.
That's correct. That's correct. And then with the technology that they're using, they're able to do more things than court reporters would do in the past. Usually it was just, the courtroom or just the depositions preparing ahead of time. But now with the real time reporting, you
Mhm.
also have the legislative writing. So if you notice when they have Congress on TV,
Right.
like last week, they were showing, um, different statements being taken down. There's a court reporter in
Wow.
for Congress. You have the federal courts where they are, they hire reporters. You have say the art institute. If
Mm.
you have those who are hearing impaired and they want to go on the tour of the art institute,
Mhm.
well, they can hire a court reporter and they can write it real time for
Mm.
that hearing impaired person.
Oh,
So there are
wow.
a number of different opportunities for this type of skill.
Okay, well, we're almost done with the show. So, in 30 seconds, tell me what is the first step to do if they're really interested in that, if they're going to go to any junior college over around the country? What's the first step they should do?
I would say the first step is to go to ncra.org. They have a lot of information on the different careers that you can go into for court reporting. And then typically for a community college, you're going to submit your official transcripts and you're going to apply to the college.
Mm.
The college would then give you a placement exam if this is your first time coming into college classes, just to make sure they start you in the right place. For
Okay.
court reporting, you want to make sure that your English and your reading skills are college level.
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have. Thank you very much, LaTherese, for coming on the show. This is Why Not. Please look up these websites for further information. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and Facebook and watch us on cable. And I hope this was an interesting program for anyone and a new career. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And everyone have a wonderful, blessed evening. Good day.